so excited to be speaking on part 2 of our series. That's not the series, but this new series is Back to the Basics. We're just going to be going back to some fundamentals of our faith, of just some fundamental things that the Bible teaches us. And so I titled my sermon today, Under New Management. And we're going to get into that in a second. But I'm going to ask y'all a question, all right? Answer honestly, all right? Have y'all ever got a terrible gift? Hands up if y'all got a terrible gift. If it's the person next to you, it's okay. You don't have to tell them it was them. But just hands up. Y'all got a terrible gift? Like grandma's giving you the same pair of socks for the 15 years of life that you lived. And you invite, okay, I know some of y'all do this. You invite your friends to a birthday party, and they get you a Visa gift card that you know came from the gas station next door. They put it in a card to make it seem intentional. Some of y'all do that. Raise your hand if you do that. Yeah, I didn't think you guys were going to admit it. But here's the thing. Everyone thinks that the effort comes from the gift giver. Like, that's the most amount of work. But reality is, the effort comes from you, given the reaction. Like, let's be real. If someone gives you a terrible gift, you have to put the nicest smile on, and especially if it's someone you know, if it's an auntie or an uncle, you want to be smiling. You want to be, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like, this is the same thing I got last year, but I really, really appreciate it. See, the reality is, when we don't know how to react, we revert to what is comfortable, and we end up getting in more trouble. I know I have got in trouble with many aunties for many socks, so I'm going to just be honest today. But the reality is, so many of us react to things in life out of comfortability instead of acting in discipline, and we miss out on the purpose that God has for us. So, today, we're going to do some reaction conditioning, all right? And it has nothing to do with our emotions. It has everything to do with our heart. So y'all ready to get into it? Are y'all ready to get into it? There we go. Awesome. So, I'm going to break you guys some news. Our whole life, God has been giving us gifts. See, in Philippians 4:19, it says, "And my God will supply every need of yours according to his riches in glory in Christ Jesus." So God is constantly giving us gifts. And when we hear about gifts, we automatically think, okay, what do I got? God's giving me money. Like, is God giving me something physical? It's not just physical. See, God actually gives us things like time in our day. He gives us opportunities. He gives us resources. But see, many of us don't think of it as gifts. So I got another question for y'all. How many of y'all have a favorite candy? Favorite candy? Do we have some chocolate lovers in here? Y'all? Okay. Mo, what's your favorite candy? Candy, chocolate, whatever. It's the same thing. That's a later debate. Twix? All right, Zach? Kit Kat? All right, anyone else? Favorite candy, favorite chocolate, whatever it is? Martin? Mars? Okay, say a word. All right, one more. Jay does. Favorite candy? Kit Kat. Okay, lots of chocolate lovers. Mine is personally Nerds, so if you want to know how to get to me and get me to do anything, get me Nerds. Nerd gummies, those are the best. But here's the thing. If we were to eat our favorite candy the whole day, top of the day to the end of the day, anytime we eat our favorite candy, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Diabetes, exactly. But not just that. What else? Cavities. So we got all these terrible things happening to us. But the thing is, even though it's our favorite candy, by the end of the day, it's not going to be our favorite candy anymore. We are going to get so sick of it. We're going to get so numb to the taste. It's going to be terrible. And the thing is, it's the same thing with God. See, God is so generous, and initially we feel so good. But over time, we forget how to take care of the things that he gives us. We become numb to the things that he has given us. So this idea of taking care of things that God has given us is called stewardship. Everyone say stewardship. Stewardship is a churchy word. It basically just means management. So stewardship is the spiritual discipline of making the most of what you've been given. And God has given us each so much potential and purpose, but many times we forfeit it because of mismanagement. All right, I'm going to be very real with y'all. I didn't think I was going to put this in my sermon, but John told me to, so I'm going to be very honest with you guys today. How many of y'all know what credit card debt is? Wow, that's a little bit too many of y'all. Okay, so I love hanging out with people. I love escape rooms. And contrary to popular belief, I actually do like food. I'm just very specific with my food. I love food, trust me. But it's facts. But the thing is, over a period of time, I was very much indulging myself with food, with escape rooms, with all these different types of things, and I lost so much money. The thing was, I didn't know how to handle not having money in my bank account, so I took to my credit card and just started using that. And how many of y'all could guess how much money I owed by the end? Just shout out a number. Oh my gosh, you guys think I'm terrible. It was 600. It was $600 in credit card debt. It was the best. And I had to pay for it all. Thank the Lord, I got the money for it now. So we all good. We're paid it all off. Thank you. But the thing that sucked about it was I couldn't do what I loved anymore. I told you I loved hanging out with people. I loved doing stuff like that, but it became so much harder because I mismanaged the thing in a season, and that affected the future because I wasn't able to do what I wanted to do and what I was called to do. So, back to the stewardship idea. Stewardship is the management of the tools that we've been given to bring us closer to the purpose that God has for us. And I think if we're being very honest with ourselves, and if we're being real, I don't think any of us want to be in a place where we're far from our purpose. Am I right? We all want to be close to what our purpose is, what our potential is. We're always saying chase your potential, chase your power. Maybe not chase your power, but chase your potential. We're all about that, and we really, really want to be close to the purpose that God has for us. So, today, we're going to go into 3 things that's going to give us a guide on how to steward the things that God has given us. And you might be thinking, what do I have? What do I got? What has God given me? Time, money, relationships, opportunities, anything that is within your sphere of influence, anything that you have an effect on is what God has given you. All right? So, we are going to look at the story of a guy called Joseph. And it starts with Genesis chapter 37. And there's a guy named Joseph, which is the son of Jacob. He has 12 brothers, and in verse 13, we learn that Joe was the favorite. So much so that his father Jacob got him the nicest Gucci bath gown in all of Israel, and he was known by all his brothers to be the favorite. And so obviously, his brothers hated it. But Joseph also had a gift from God. In verse 5 to 7, we learn that Joseph was given the gift to interpret dreams. And so he told the dream to his family one day, and the dream basically interpreted to his whole family would bow to him. His brothers were not happy with that. His brothers were pissed. So they wanted to kill him, but they did not kill him. They ended up throwing him into a well, ended up selling him to travelers, and then these travelers sold him all the way in Egypt to this guy named Potiphar. Then in chapter 39, verse 2 to 6, we learn that Joseph was so good that he was put in charge of Potiphar's house. But Potiphar's wife liked to play around. Joseph was a good-looking man. So Potiphar's wife called Joseph one day. Her husband was not there. And she was just like, yo, come sleep with me. Joseph knew what his standard was, so he was just like, nope, I'm good, I'm leaving. And because of that, Potiphar's wife was just like, okay, I'm upset, so we're going to accuse him of rape, and we're going to put him in jail. So, verse 11 to 12, Joseph is put in jail. But in the jail, there was a chef, a baker, and a cupbearer. And they both had dreams in this jail. Now, Joseph was known to interpret dreams, all right? And so they go to Joseph and they ask him, hey, can you interpret our dreams for us? And so the cupbearer ends up revealing, or his dream ends up revealing that he's going to go back to Pharaoh and he's going to go serving cocktails to him for the rest of his life. But the baker, it was done for him. He was going to get released from jail to be killed. That's what the dreams meant. Then, years later, cupbearer remembers Joseph because Pharaoh has a dream. And he's like, yo, I need someone to interpret the dream. Cupbearer's like, okay, bet, I know someone. He says, okay, Joseph's in jail, let's get him. So he comes, Pharaoh tells him the dream. Basically, the dream means there's going to be 7 years of plenty and 7 years of nothing, of famine. And so Joseph's like, Pharaoh, yo, you need someone to take care of this. This is a big job. And then in verse 39, we learn that Pharaoh elects Joseph to be the prime minister. big man. Then famine hits. Joe's whole family comes back because they got hit really bad by the famine, and they traveled all the way to Egypt. Now, they get to Joseph. Joseph recognizes them. He's like, I know them. Verse 18 to 33. Oh, sorry. Joe tested them. We just backtrack. Joe tested them because he was just like, okay, I know these guys. Let's see if their hearts have changed. So he tests them. And then we'll talk a little bit about that later, but they go through this whole process, and Joe ends up taking their brother and says, okay, I'm going to keep him because he's been unfaithful. He stole something from me. And then in verse 18 and 33, we learn that the brothers felt so sorry, they fell at his feet and repented and said, hey, take me instead of my brother. Then Joseph saw that their heart had changed, and he revealed himself to them. And then chapter 45, verse 14 to 15, they all hugged and lived happily ever after. Who liked that story? That was an amazing story, right? Dang, I should be a storyteller instead of this. And so we're going to be looking through the story of Joseph throughout all our points today. And that brings me to our first point, which is, we are the managers, not the owners. This is a tough one for some of us, and this is a tough one for me too. Because see, stewardship is not just about taking care of things, but managing what is in front of us. And the Bible clearly tells us that we actually don't own the things that we have. See, Joseph didn't own his gift. It was given to him by God. He couldn't even interpret his gifts, or he couldn't even interpret unless it was God that was allowing him to interpret those dreams. And then in Psalm 23, verse 1, we learn, and it says, the earth is the Lord's, and everything in it, the world and all who live in it, that's us. So everything belongs to God. And you don't need to be a Christian or go into the Bible to learn that there's many things in life we just cannot control. How many of y'all could control how much time you've been given in a day? None of us. Who can control the opportunities they get? Jobs, whatever it is. You can't control how people respond to you and how people act towards you. There's just so much in life that we can't control. But the one thing that we can control is how we manage these things. All right, where's Molly? Molly? Hi, Molly. All right, so before we started today, before worship, before all of that, I gave something to Molly. I gave her a bag of chips. And I said, yo, Molly, this is all yours. You could do whatever you want with it. Molly, where's the bag of chips? Ariel, what happened to the bag of chips? She doesn't have it. Did you eat it? The bag of chips is gone. That's what we're saying. The bag of chips is gone. It does suck. Now, I gave a second bag of chips to Aiko. Aiko, do you have that bag with you? There you go. Let's go, Aiko. Thank you. Come on now. Now, see, the thing about being managers is we're not the CEOs or the owners. This means there is a different level of responsibility you take. See, before I gave it to Aiko, I said something. Do you remember what I said? I said, this is mine. Can you keep it? What did I tell to you, Molly? I said, do whatever. I said, this is yours. You do whatever you want with it. But then Aiko has said, this is mine. Take care of it. See, when we know who the owner of something is in our life, there's a different level of responsibility that we take on. And that's why there's a difference between us being the managers and being the owners, because the reality is, when we're the managers, and I'm not chirping on you, Molly, but when we're the managers, things get lost, things happen, and they're mismanaged, and we miss out on the potential that they have. See, God knows if we have control over our time, our trust, which is the areas we are trusted to be someone or do something, and our treasure, which is our resources and money, we would wreck it. And on top of that, they didn't even know I gave them the bag of chips for this illustration. See, the thing is, we actually don't know the purpose of why we have the things that we have. See, the problem is we try to control things and we try to make sense of them on our own terms, but we're not the creators. And we're not in control, so we don't understand its purpose. Let me use relationships as an example. See, some of us are in relationships, but the unfortunate reality is we let the relationship set the standard. Maybe it's a friendship, and we let the friendship set the standard because we don't know the purpose of it, and God's given us an amazing friend, or God's given us people in our sphere of influence, but we want to make do of it on our own terms. And the reality is, many times, we mismanage it. But see, there's one person who does know the plans, and that's God. That's the CEO. See, Jeremiah 29:11, we could put that up. It says, "For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future." When we don't know the purpose of something and we don't understand its value, we're bound to misuse it. How many of y'all have ever heard the story from John about his lens? None of y'all? So I don't have the lens with me. There's the voice crack, number one. I don't have the lens with me, but let me tell y'all the story because John never tells it right. We were filming a bumper for a series we did a long time ago called Single Thirsty Satisfied. Who was there for Single Thirsty Satisfied? Yes, such a good series. Bree, you were there for Single Thirsty? No, you weren't. Oh, say word, okay. And so we were filming the bumper for it. But I was unaware of something. And all y'all photographers, videographers, you're gonna hurt because this lens was a rare antique lens. Like, we could not get this from anywhere else. I know, because I searched up. And the reason I was searching it up is because I dropped it and I broke it. So now it is currently in John's office, wherever John is, serving as a paperweight. Yes, I know, it's terrible. Because I didn't understand the value of it. I didn't get that it was a rare antique whatever from, I don't know, like in the middle of the desert. Like, I didn't understand its value. And so the result was I didn't take the level of responsibility that I should, and so I mismanaged it. John came all the way with his lens to prove to y'all that it is wrecked. Oh my gosh. So it's like straight up tilted, and the cap does not go on. Y'all see that dent? That was me. Good job, Rashawn. I know. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Y'all could give me nice things now. I promise I'll take care of them. I went through the sermon, okay? So I didn't understand the value. I did not take care of it. But see, God, in the things that he gives us in our life, he has it planned out for us, and we can have the hope knowing that it's a good plan and that will leave us fulfilled and enabled. When we try to claim ownership over what God has given us, we will most likely misuse it. All right, where's the plate and where's the cup? Plate and cup, there we go. Get up for Jay and Isaiah doing all the tough work of bringing me. Oh my gosh, thank you very much. All right, what is this, guys? It's a plate. No way, and what's this? It's a shiny mug that was not cleaned properly. All right, I have a question for y'all. If I were to if I were to drink water out of this plate, 500 milliliters, I searched it up. That's how much is in a water bottle. 500 milliliters out of this plate, would that be efficient? Would that work? It's not going to be, it's going to be dumb. It's going to go all over my shirt. And what if I tried to eat a steak out of this glass? Like medium rare, cooked nicely by Dave. What if I try to do that out of this glass? No, Dave would not even give it to me if it was going in this. Right, Dave? No. So, why do we do this with the things in our lives? See, God gives us things, and he has a purpose for them, and then we're just like, okay, bet, like I know, or maybe I don't know what this is used for, so I'm going to just figure it out. I'm going to just try to use it for something that I decide might be worthy of it being used. And the thing is, we miss out on the purpose of the things that God has for us. We do that all the time with the things that God has given to us, and we wonder why we feel a lack of purpose. How many of y'all have watched Stranger Things? Anyone watched season 4? Yo, so good, so good. But see, some of us will spend hours, like what was the last volume, 4 hours watching Stranger Things. But we won't take those 30 minutes to read the Bible, to pray, to talk to people we care about, to connect, to develop relationships. But 4 hours, that's light, that's easy. That's the thing. We mismanage things because we try to do it on our own terms. However, when we recognize that what we have belongs to God, we change our perspective and accept the responsibility to act in ways which allow us to function more and more in our purpose. All right, so what does this look like? In the story of Joseph, Genesis 39, verse 19 to 23, Joseph was in prison right after being thrown out of Potiphar's house for being accused of rape. And he met these two people. We talked about them. They were the baker and the Pharaoh's bartender, right? And so God gave them both dreams. And Joe was known to interpret dreams. We talked about it. And we know that the bartender's dream meant that he was going to go back to serving Pharaoh, and the baker was going to die. That was it. That was all for him. But see, the baker's dream revealed to Pharaoh, I already heard that. Imagine if Joe was more concerned, let's just imagine for a second, if Joe was more concerned about preserving his identity, how people saw him, instead of following the purpose that God had for his gift. See, Joe would have known that the baker, or telling the baker about his dream, meant that the baker wouldn't like or respect him. How do I know this? No one likes when someone reveals and tells the truth about themselves, or us to ourselves. See, I've been in bad friendships. I'll be real. I've been in bad friendships. I have chased the wrong people. I have chased the wrong and quite honestly very dumb things. We could talk after if you want to find out. This is being recorded. So, I've been in a lot of bad situations. I've been with bad friends. And when people call me out, I just don't feel it. I pull back. I retract. I get offended. And some of us are in that spot too. We're in a bad relationship. Someone's telling you, yo, that person's not treating you right. We're in a bad friendship, and all we're doing is just giving. But they're just taking. And when we hear it from people that we trust, we don't want to hear. We get offended. And so this was the risk that Joseph was running. He was running the risk of being honest with the baker, and because of it, his look, the facade, or not the facade, but the identity that he had in prison, because he was a big man. He was in charge of the prison. That's how good he was. And that's how much God was with him. But he was running the risk of the baker not looking at him in the same way. But had Joe given the baker the wrong interpretation, when the baker eventually died, Joe would have lost his credibility. See, when we don't accept the responsibility to steward what God has given us for its purpose, we run the risk of losing credibility. Because when the bartender would have eventually found out, baker's dead, he's gone, would he have referred him to the Pharaoh when the Pharaoh had a dream? No. He didn't get the baker's dream right. Why would he get the Pharaoh's? I'm not going to put my life on the line and give the Pharaoh someone who can't interpret dreams properly. See, Joseph would have missed out on what God had for him if he was more concerned with himself rather than his calling. God is calling us to be managers of what he has given us, but it starts with knowing who the CEO is. And we're going to go through who the CEO is. The CEO is God. But who is God? 1 John 4:8, God is love. Philippians 4 verse 6, God gives us peace that transcends all understanding. Proverbs 18-24, he's a friend that sticks closer than a brother. And Matthew 6 verse 9, he's our Father and he's our God. This is who the owner is. And we risk missing out on what God has intended for us. When we risk missing out what God has for us, we feel a lack of purpose as a result. We misuse our time. We misuse our responsibilities and relationships. We misuse opportunities. But when we trust God's plan and for what we have and what he's given us, we put ourselves in the position to move closer to what God has in store for us. All right? Everyone following? Thumbs up? We good? We are not the managers. We are the managers. We are not the owners. All right, point number 2. Stewarding or managing our gifts means using them to their full potential and not their full power. This slayed me this past 2 weeks, and I'll tell you why in a second, but this was the tough one for me. Okay, who can be so transparent today to admit that they're a hoarder? Like, I like my stuff and I want lots of it. Half of y'all are lying. Who can admit they're a hoarder? All right, let me prove it to you guys. Many of us have actually been hoarding our whole lives, and we don't even know it. Some of us feel like we got to get as many trophies, Some of us feel like we need to get all the compliments. Some of us feel like we got to add to our resume, stack that thing up. We need to get the perfect guy or the girl so that when we're next to them, everyone's looking at us. We're to get the most opportunities at youth. Some of the most opportunities at youth. Some of you are like, why isn't John seeing what I can do? Man, I got all this potential. Or like on the worship team, some of us want to stack up the most amount of things at youth. Let's be honest. Some of us want to stack our calendars and fill every hour of every day to feel productive. This is the one that slayed me. If you look at my calendar, it is multicolored. There's everything and possibly anything on my calendar. And if we don't do these things, we feel unproductive and maybe even feel useless. See, we have a tendency to use what we have been given by God to its full power and miss its full potential. And let me prove it to you. We know that Joe was given a gift, and he knew he was special too. But very early on, we know he made a very bad decision. Genesis 37, verse 5 to 7, he told his brothers the dream he had had, where sheaves of wheat that represented his brothers and family were bowing down to his sheaf of wheat. Hearing this, we know his brothers were pissed, and they plotted to kill him, but they didn't kill him, and we know that he was sold into slavery. And see, there were many times in Joseph's life that he was asked to interpret, but the one time he was not asked to interpret was this time. See, Joseph prematurely interpreted his dream to his brothers. Joseph used his gift to its full power and not potential. See, being a good steward of the gifts that God has given us doesn't mean doing a lot with them. Productivity is not measured by what you do, but the value to which you do it. What does that mean? Just because you do a lot with what you have does not mean it's effective. See, when we devote our time, treasure, and talents to using what we have to its absolute extent without God's help or understanding, we start to make bad investments and miss valuable opportunities. Stewardship calls us to use what we've been given to its full potential, the potential that God has given for that thing, our time, our relationships, our opportunities, whatever it is, and not its full power. When we start doing things out of power, we become selfish, and we never end up seeing the potential of what we have and who we are and who God has created us to be. But see, when we start using what we have in purpose, we start making the choice to move closer to God and closer to what God has for us. All right, I got a quick game for y'all. How many of y'all like music? Okay, that's good. All right, GP, we're going to play a song. Raise your hand if you know it. If you don't know it, I'm going to be upset. If you watch Stranger Things, y'all better know this. Just give it a second. No one knows this? Who's watched Stranger Things here? Just Ronan. It's just Ronan. There you go, Destiny. Okay, we're going to get to the part. Who knows this song now? There we go. All right, there we go. Okay. All right, let's go to the next one. We got another one. This one everyone should be knowing. Y'all know this one? Y'all know what Rickrolling is. Mo does not. You don't know what it is? That's what I thought. All right, awesome. All right, let's stop it. All right. Who here can name another song from any of those bands, singers, whatever it is? Another song from Rick Astley and I don't know who, Kids Youth? That was the other one? James, you know one? Sorry? Oh, say word. Okay, James knows one. Does anyone else know one? It's just James. Okay, we'll play another one. Let's play the last one, GP. Everyone should know this song. Come on, y'all. Hands up. Who knows this one? All right, awesome. All right, who is it? Let's pause it for a second. All right, who is it? Michael Jackson. Yes, sir. Yo, DJ GP. All right. Who here can name another song from Michael Jackson? Anyone? Sky. All right, Zach. All right, perfect. Who else? Jay. Beat It. All right, anyone else? Nurian. Smooth Criminal. All right, perfect. Good job, guys. All right, so what was the difference between the first two songs and the last song? Why did we know the last song and all the other songs that Michael Jackson wrote, but not the first two? Who knows? Nurian. It was more popular. It was more popular, you're right. See, I heard this quote and I think it fits perfectly to this. Consistency separates the all-time greats from the one-hit wonders. See, consistency is what separates those first two songs, and that's why you didn't know who or what the other songs were from the artist, from the album, from whatever it is. And that's why you knew Michael Jackson, because he was consistent. But here is the tough reality. It's gonna take some work, and it's gonna hurt. But why put in the work? Because see, stewardship / management rather, allows us to function more and more in our purpose. That's the motivating factor for managing and for stewarding and for being consistent, is because our purpose is on the other side of it. But because things that don't last long don't come quickly, we many times refuse to participate in it. We live in a fast food culture where we want the best results in the least amount of time. Where are all my junior chicken people at? Like, who loves a junior? Yes, sir. Junior chickens are the best. That's my go-to. But the reality is, they taste terrible. Keep on eating them. They will taste terrible. I promise you. I've lived a week on them. And they run out quickly. Contrast that to something that takes you hours to make, and you're putting all the work into it. You're going to savor that. You're going to take your time, unless you're hungry. But still, you're going to take your time. See, as we serve God with the gifts that we have, we run the risk of running too fast and getting too tired too quick. I'm going to tell you all the story. When I started doing worship, participating in worship at RY, this is like, what, 2 years ago? I was really overestimating our ability, my ability. The guys who were here from the start, they know what's up. Because I thought it was a genius idea. So y'all know what we got. We got the electric, we got the keys, we got the band, we got the bass. Worship today, fire. But when I started, I thought it was a sick idea to go, okay, let's do 2 guitars, 1 guitar here, the other guitar here. Let's do 2 keys. Lorene, you're going to be here. Nathaniel, you're going to be here. Let's do the bass, and why not? We got 4 singers. Let's do 4 singers. John literally came to me that day. He's like, bro, the stage is literally about to break. I really, really overcompensated what I was doing. And if I didn't change my priorities, in the end, we wouldn't be able to get to the place that we are now as a band, as part of Relentless. We wouldn't have been able to complete the race because we do too much. And the race just means times in our purpose that we get to act out of what God's given us. And as we accept the challenge of being disciplined stewards or managers of what God is going to do, God is going to put us through endurance training. How many athletes do we have here? Okay, say a word. It's not me. God's going to put us through some endurance training. God is going to allow you to be in seasons. Ready for this? God is going to allow you to be in seasons where a gift you have may not be needed. Why? To build your tolerance and test whether you are still willing to be responsible for what He's given you in a season that doesn't require it. It puts us in a place where we have to evaluate if we can trust Him over our gifts. And I know this really well because for the past 2 weeks, this is what I had to go through. See, I'm talking about discipline and stewardship and management. And when the summer hit, I was no joke getting up at 3 o'clock p.m. I went to sleep at, I don't even know, I got more than a normal person should. That's how much sleep I got. And then John's just like, okay, but I want you to preach on something. And I'm like, okay, cool. It's going to be worship. I got this in the bag. That's soft. He's like, stewardship, management, and discipline. I'm like, say word. I don't do any of that. Why you asked me to do that? And it was honestly tough for me. This was not my normal. And I'm disciplined in certain things, but if I'm being honest, there's a lot of areas that I let go and I'm not disciplined. But see, I was asked to do this, which means I had to spend 2 intentional weeks of prepping and getting ready And there's a lot of ways I use my gifts here because I believe, like, I love music, I love doing music, and I got to do it here. I got the honor of participating in leading worship. But for 2 weeks, I did not get to use my gift. No gift. I didn't get to speak. I didn't get to sing for the 2 weeks, 2 whole weeks. I did not get to use my gift. But see, that's because I believe God put me through some endurance training. He was testing to see, can you still trust me these 2 weeks where you can't use your gift, and can you still keep discipline? Can I trust God through the process so when the time comes to use my gift, I'll be ready and not worn out? See, the reason I feel like I could come here today and speak with the authority of this is what discipline is and this is what stewardship is because I did the pre-training. I did the training before game day. And in the story of Joseph, we see God put Joseph through the training process. Not once did God ask Joseph to use his gift of dream interpretation. He was just asked to serve. He doesn't use his gift till the end when he gets thrown in jail for being accused of rape. But had Joseph misused his gift or forgotten about God in that season, he would have gotten to the place where he would not have gotten to the palace, rather, with the Pharaoh. If he had misused it, he would have not have gotten to the palace. Joseph was also, this is the crazy thing, he was working in such close proximity to his calling, and he didn't even know it. So, I titled this sermon under new management. Why? Because I feel like today can be a turning point for some of us today. Maybe you admit that you've been mismanaging the thing that God has put in your life. Maybe you feel like you could be a better boyfriend or a girlfriend, a better student at school, a better son or daughter. Maybe you've been lazy and missing out on a lot because of it. Or maybe you feel like you have so much to offer, but no one notices. Today, I believe, can be a shifting point for those of you today. See, bad management can ruin companies. So today, we have the opportunity to fire the old way we used to do things and replace it with a new management and step into our purpose knowing that we're the managers, we're not the owners. And just because we do more with what we got does not make it efficient and does not mean we're going to get closer to our purpose. And be consistent. Even when it's hard, even when no one is noticing, even when you feel like I got all the potential and all the talent and I got all this, but no one notices. See, when we apply these 3 things and we start stewarding and managing the thing that God has for us, the things like time and money and opportunities and all these things, not giving up when it gets tough, we will see a shift in the management of our company, who we are. This is our company. And we're going to go in with the confidence knowing that we are going to be closer to what God has for us. So, with everyone's eyes closed and heads bowed, we're going to be giving some stuff over to God today. Maybe some of that stuff that I listed out, maybe that's you. And you feel like, man, I've been mismanaging some stuff in my life. I've really been lacking. I feel like I don't know what my purpose is, or maybe I know what my purpose is, but I don't know how to get there. Today can be the day that you choose a harder path of discipline and allow God to work through you. And slowly and surely you will start to see the things that God has for you and start seeing more clearly into the purpose that God has for your life. So God, thank you for the ability to change the way that we are doing things. God, some of us today feel like burdened because of the way that we've mismanaged our life and the things that you've given us. And maybe we want control over all of it, and now we're realizing it just hasn't worked out for us. And we're looking at the story of Joseph and we're like, I'm there. I'm in a season where no one notices and I've made some mistakes and I wish people would know them, hold me to them. God, I pray right now for every single person here. God, I pray for a release. God, I pray that as we give all these things over to you and we give ownership back to you, Lord, you would allow us and show us how to manage the things that you've given us. Lord, I pray for the person who doesn't even know you today. God, I pray today they will experience your love. Today they will experience your presence. Today they will experience your peace. God, I pray for a shifting in their heart. God, I pray for a shifting in their lives and the things around them. God, I pray that you would reveal yourself to them so big that they would just be in absolute no denial that it is you. And God, I pray for the ones that have strayed away and now are realizing, man, I feel so far from God. How do I get back? Lord, help them know that it's just a prayer away and just an ask of, Lord, come back into my life. I want the restart. I want to re-manage my life. So God, we thank you. We thank you for the things that you've given us. God, give us the ability and the discipline to steward these things the way that you've called us to do. And by doing that, we step more and more into the purpose that you have for us. We thank you and we praise you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen and amen. All right.